Hello, my fine students. Please turn with me to page 78 in the grammar, 78, lesson 8, where we will get an introduction for the first time to some verbal elements. Seow begins this chapter by giving us a little overview of what all of the verb types, or what we call conjugations or stems or binyanim structures in Hebrew will look like. I don't want you to get too confused by that right now, because really we're only going to introduce you to one of these. But you can see, I guess, just from reading page 78, the beginning there, and by the way, I do ask that you read each lesson probably before and at least after we do you listen to each of these recordings. But you can see just by reading page 78 that there are these 7 different patterns of making verbs. That doesn't mean there are only 7 different ways of doing a verb. There are hundreds and thousands of different kinds of combinations and problems and things. And it's all very complicated, but on one level we could say that there are 7 different major verbal patterns, or families of verbs. I don't know how we want to say it exactly. And those being the call, nifal, piel, pual, hifil, hofal, and hithpile. And you can see those words there under the traditional names. What Seow has there in the column with pattern is just simply a descriptive type of rendering with the vowels. So a call will have a katal kind of pattern. The nifal will sound like niktal. Of course, the root here would be qtl, or katal, which means to kill in Hebrew, and it's used in a lot of grammars as the kind of basic example of what a verb can look like. Not sure why that one is used exactly. It's a little violent. So the call, nifal, piel, pual, hifil, hofal, and hithpile. We're only going to look at the one part of one of these for this lesson today, and that will be the call. And the part of speech specifically we'll be looking at is the participle. Participles are kind of an odd hybrid sort of verbal element. They're kind of like an adjective, but they're also kind of like a verb, and they're also kind of like a noun, all rolled into one. And we'll get a chance to see how some of this will work. Okay. And first we're going to look at the call. Call in Hebrew, by the way, means light, therefore easy, the simplest of the conjugations. And so we start, Seow starts with the call participle being one simple way to get us into thinking about verbs. Page 79, top. We see that participles, just like nouns, can actually take one of the 4 endings, which we're already used to, luckily, from our nouns. The masculine singular just being what it is in the base form, masculine plural, im ending, feminine singular, eth ending, sometimes even a, but rarely so, mostly eth. And then feminine plural, oath. Do those look familiar? Are you familiar with those? Yes, you are. Here are some examples of the normal call active participle pattern. Is it important that we identify it as an active participle, not just a call participle? Yeah, actually it is, because we're going to also in this lesson be introduced to a passive participle. Okay? So we'll get to that. Middle of page 79, 3a. Here's how it looks. And let's take a root, shamar. Shin mem resh, meaning to keep or observe. Masculine singular, shomer. Shomer. Masculine plural, shomerim. Shomerim. Notice that the shava there is vocal because of the long O vowel. Shomerim. Shomeret. Shomeret. Notice the accent above the mem there in shomeret. Shomeroth. Shomeroth. Feminine plural. How would you translate this? Well, we'll get to this a little bit later when Seow gives examples. I'll give you a preview. Shomer, just the masculine singular there, could be translated keeping, or one who keeps, keeper. Okay, that's a participle. Shomerim would be the ones doing the keeping. Shomer, men, male elements. Shomeroth, female elements doing the keeping. Or shomereth, female one keeping, or keeping with relation to a female subject. Okay. Now, on pages bottom of 79, 80, and the top of page 81, Seow is going to give us several different types of roots, because we know by now that some roots have more problems than others. Some roots have issues, identity issues, especially concerning gutturals in the middle. So for example, look at page 79, 3b. Sha'al, to ask, you've got an aleph in the middle. Well, what's the big deal? Sho'el, one who asks, asking, masculine singular. No big problem. Well, the problem comes in the plural, because you get the reduction then. Above we had shomerim, and we had that shava under the mem. Now that shava can't just be there all naked and cold in the breeze underneath the aleph. It now has to turn to a compound. Sho'alim. Sho'aloth. Okay, accent there, not in the correct place. Sho'alim, sho'aloth. Do you see how that works? So you get that. That's a vowel change. It's a small thing. You get some issues with the third guttural. Oh wait, now in the masculine singular, it's not just o-e, the pattern. It's not just shomeh, but it's shomea. So you get a furtive patak in there in the masculine singular, and then the rest are pretty normal looking. Third aleph, get some issues there. Middle of page 80, I want you to read about that. I want to draw your attention on page 80 to letter E, third hey roots. The hey sometimes goes away. It's something you can chant. The hey goes away. The hey goes away. So gola, uncover, or gola, in the masculine singular there, gole. Look at the masculine plural, golim. Look at the feminine plural, goloth. What happened to the final hey? Well, a final hey at the end of a word often just gets absorbed into the word, drops away. Okay. You get something even more special and interesting in some ways when you go to second vav, second yod roots. This is F on page, bottom page 80, top page 81. Take a root like bo, come or enter. The masculine singular there is ba. You don't even get all three root letters there. And then the masculine plural ba'im, feminine singular ba'a, and feminine plural ba'oth. See how that works? He gives a synopsis there in the middle of page 81. The more of that synopsis you can memorize sooner, the better off you will be. I don't want to put pressure on you right now to get all filled with anxiety, like if you don't have this chart memorized in about 5 minutes, you might as well quit learning Hebrew. That's not true. But at least that main form with shamar there, shomeroth, shomereth, shomerim, shomer, that's a good one. And also to memorize what say a root like bo, ba'oth, ba'a, ba'im, ba looks like, as well as third hey, goloth, gola, golim, gole. The more you can get into your head there, the better. How is the participle used? I ask, and I will answer through Seow's examples. Often it's used to suggest continuing activity that is ongoing in the present time of the narrative. So take Isaiah 6:1, Isaiah's famous throne vision. Isaiah sees the Lord Yoshev al Kiseh. This is number 4, letter A on page 81. Isaiah 6:1, Yoshev al Kiseh, sitting upon a throne. Kiseh is the throne, al means upon, and Yashav, that root, means sit or dwell. So the Lord is sitting. Do you see that with the ing? That's often we do that in English with an ing, continuous activity in the present. How about the next one, Genesis 28:12, Jacob's famous Stairway to Heaven vision. These angels or messengers are olim ve'yoredim, ascending and descending, masculine plural active participles from Allah and Yorad, respectively. Olim ve'yoredim, ascending and descending. Tense is not indicated in the participle. It must be inferred from context, and it's usually not as hard as it might sound. Here Seow gives a few examples of participles working in the present, past, and future. You don't get a separate form, though, for this. It's just the masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, feminine plural, but depending on context. So for Samuel 28:14, I'm just going to run down these, run down the row. Ish zakein ole, an old man is going up. Dor holek vedor ba, v'ha'aretz le'olam omadet. A generation comes, ba, and a generation goes, a generation comes, holek, and a generation goes, ba. Actually, I think I said that right the first time. Holek would indicate going out, and ba would indicate going into or coming in. So however you want to translate that, you might translate it word for word. A generation goes and a generation comes, syntactically with the words there. I don't know why he says a generation comes and a generation goes. But the earth forever stands. Here we get a little funny wrinkle. Notice the word omadeth there in the last word in Ecclesiastes 1:4. You may recognize this, if you have a sharp memory, as being a feminine singular participle. Why is it feminine? Well, it's feminine because it refers to what? The earth. Haaretz, right? And eretz, the noun, is feminine. Therefore, the matching participle must be feminine too. Do you see that? Another thing, you might say, hey, I thought that was supposed to be omedet with two segols. What the heck is that Kamet's doing underneath the mem in omadet? This is a funny thing. In the Hebrew Bible, in the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia, with the Masoretic vowels and everything in there, sometimes certain words are said to be in pause, or to be pausal forms. This happens at the end of a verse in Hebrew. And sometimes when a word is in pause, there are vowel changes. So omedet, in pause, in the pausal situation there at the end, is actually going to turn to omadet. The reasons for that are a little complicated, and I don't even want to bore or confuse you with them now, except to say it just has to do with the reading tradition. At pauses and breaks, hence the name pausal form, at the end of verses or at major breaks within the verse, the idea is that your reading slows up a little bit and you may end up with a different pronunciation. Okay? Omadet instead of omedet. Anyway, 82, number 2 there. It's 1 Samuel 3:8. Adonai koe lana'ar. Yahweh was calling the boy. Verivka ohevet et Yaakov. Verivka ohevet et Yaakov. But Rivka, loved Jacob. You might say, well, why wouldn't you translate that as loving? Well, because the narrative context there indicates that it was something that happened in the past as this sentence is being told. She loved Jacob. It's just narration, okay? Some future examples, 1 Samuel 3:11. Anochi oseh davar beYisrael. I am going to do something in Israel, oseh. How in the world did we get going to do out of oseh? Well, it depends on the context. It seems to be here that the speaker is speaking about the imminent future. Because of what comes after this phrase, when the Lord is going to then describe to the boy Samuel, here in this context, what he is going to do, and it's clear that it's in the future. That then forces you to go back as a reader and interpret that oseh not as something past. I was doing something, a thing in Israel, or I did do a thing in Israel, but rather I am going to do. Okay, I know that seems a little spacey at the moment, but it'll come together later. Genesis 18:17. God says to Abraham that he's going to show him Asher ani oseh, what I am about to do. Okay. You could also use participles maybe in the same way, similar way to what we already had for adjectives. Look at that chart down below on page 82. Ha'ish tov, the man is good. Ha'isha tova, the woman is good. Remember those? How about with a participle? Ha'ish omed, the man is standing. Ha'isha omedet, the woman is standing. See that? Okay. Page 83, we get some more examples. The participle can also be used as an attributive adjective, as in lev shomea, a heart that is listening, or a listening heart. Eish ochala, a consuming fire, Deuteronomy 4:24. So remember our adjectives there, page 83. Ha'ish hatov, the good man. Not the man is good, but the good man, because both noun and adjective have the definite article. Ha'isha hatova, the good woman. What if we do that with the participle? Ha'ish ha'omed, the standing man. You wouldn't say the man is standing. That would be ha'ish omed, right? Just like on the previous page. The standing woman, ha'isha ha'omedet. Okay. And you can do some reading of his explanations in between these examples. How about I'll just burn through a bunch of these other examples here, all the way on to page 84. I'm on page 83 now, near the bottom. Proverbs 28, Melech Yoshev, a king who sits, a sitting king. Okay. Hamelech HaYoshev, the king who sits. Note those. Like the adjective, though, the participle can also be used as a noun. This is why I said earlier that it's kind of like a hybrid. Shomer can be keeping, or one who keeps, a keeper. Ohev, loving, one who loves, a lover or friend. Boneh, building, one who builds, builder. Okay. Sometimes 84D, top of the page, you have to kind of supply a subject here. So, Koe Mishair, calling from Seir. In the context here, it's clearly someone calls from Seir. Okay. Now, not only do we have an active participle, but we also have a passive. Do you know how the passive works in English? It works the same way in Hebrew, but we have different forms of the word for the passive. So let's just look through an example. Call active participle, kotev. Kotev, writing, one who writes. However, flip those vowels around a little bit. Instead of the o-e pattern, o-e, now let's get a-u. Call passive participle, kathuv, being written, what is written. Do you see the difference there between active and passive? In one case, we have a subject, writing, one who writes, and in the other case, the subject has been flipped and is no longer the subject. It is being written, what is written. Okay. And he's got a synopsis now. He's not even going to go through all the examples of the call passive form. The key thing to watch out for in all these forms on page 84 of the call passive, the dead giveaway of the call passive, is that oo element in the middle. Do you see that in almost every form there? Masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, and feminine plural of the passive. Look at the row for kept there, shamar, the root. Shemuroth, feminine plural. Shemurah, feminine singular. Shemurim, shamur, what is kept. Not something actively doing the keeping, but something that is kept. And he gives examples for bound, known, called, and uncovered. Okay. Page 85 gives a couple of examples of how the passive participle can work. Psalm 149:9, page 85, C1. Mishpat kathuv, from Psalm 149:9. A judgment written, a written judgment. It can also be predicative. Kathuv basefarim, it was written in the letters. Notice the phrase there, in the letters. You got that be, the preposition be, in, but because it's ba, we know that the definite article hey is also crunched in there. So it's in the sefarim, in the letters, it was written, kathuv. If you had something else there, like kothavim or something to match the sefarim, you'd have the letters doing the writing themselves, which would be weird. But that's not what this is. Kathuv basefarim. It was written in the letters. Or how about this one from Nehemiah 10:35? Kakathuv batorah. Kakathuv batorah. According to what is written in the Torah, in the law. Notice the ka there, the ka element being ka, the preposition, according or like or as. So that's an overview of the call participles, both active and passive. I'll read the vocab now. Pretty soon I'm not going to read the vocab anymore at the end of each chapter because I think your reading is getting stronger and stronger as we go here, and there's just no need for me to do it. And these recordings don't have to be as long. I'll read this one here, and I'll go through them a lot more quickly than I have in the past. So I'll just read the word and then the definition now. One thing I do need to point out, though, now that Seow is going to start giving lexical forms for verbs, like that first one, ahav, love. When we translate the word ahav actually isn't translated as to love. Okay, that's a convention of defining words to use that infinitive to do something for verbs. Actually, the word ahav means he loves or he loved, as we're going to find in the form of the call perfect. That's what that is. That is the lexical form, is a particular kind of verb. It doesn't mean to love. There's a way to say to love in Hebrew, and it's not ahav. Okay. So I feel conflicted. This is one place where I don't want us to follow Seow's guidance here. Ahav, we would define just simply as love, or more specifically, he loves. So I'll leave the to out of it when I do verbs, okay? Ahav, love. Note ahava as a noun, love. Achal, eat, consume, devour. Amar, say. Bo, come, enter. Bana, build. Gala, uncover, go away, go into exile. Halach, walk, go. Yada, know. Sometimes yada, by the way, can be a euphemism for sex in the Bible. Genesis 4:1, I think, says, now Adam, literally in Hebrew, now Adam knew Yada, his wife Eve. It's a sexual knowing. Yalad, bear, beget, as in a child. Yatsa, go out, go forth. Yarad, go down, descend. Yashav, dwell, sit, remain. Kathav, write, record, register. Matzah, find. Nata, stretch out, extend, incline. Natan, give, deliver, set, permit. Natan is a very common verb in the Bible. Avar, cross over, pass over, transgress. Amad, stand, remain, persist. Kara, call, proclaim. Ra'ah, see. Sha'al, ask, inquire. Shama, hear, obey, listen. Kind of like in the Shema, Deuteronomy 6. Shema Yisrael. Those are different vowels. That's Shema. This is Shama. He hears, he listens, he obeys. Shema is a masculine singular command form or an imperative, which we'll learn later. And finally, Shama, keep, observe, watch.